Alright, well, initially I wasn't going to make this video because my second semester of college was not a conventional semester by any stretch of the imagination, but then I thought, doesn't that make it all the more reason to make this video and discuss how this wasn't a conventional semester and discuss the pros and cons of having a half virtual semester? So, yeah, I'm gonna discuss my second semester of college here in this video if the title of this video wasn't self-explanatory enough for you. Now, obviously, this semester started off pretty normal. I was actually physically going to all of my classes, so I'll discuss each of my classes one by one, and then discuss the whole transition to virtual classes, and then discuss all of my how all my virtual classes went one by one. So, anyways, the first class I took of this semester was criminology, which I know I'm an anarchist, learning about the criminal justice system here in America. Cringe, I know, but I was actually kind of interested in taking this class, and it ended up being a huge benefit because it was actually a very easygoing class. Our professor was actually very nice. She came in and she made it clear to us that all of our tests will be take-home tests. And it was a pretty easygoing class, too. She was nice. She liked to joke around a lot with the class. Again, we could take all of her tests at home, so basically, whenever I had a test, she sent us through email the test, and of course all the questions are there. They're all multiple choice or true or false questions, so that's pretty simple as well. And best part is, I was just able to simply look up the questions on Google and find the answers there, like literally the questions verbatim on like a quiz website. So I guess she ripped her questions straight from there. I don't know, but yeah, it was a pretty quick way to find the answers without having to read articles and such. So yeah, I was fairly lazy in that class. I know I didn't really learn much because again, I was like, I'm almost guaranteed to get a good grade on like every single one of these tests. So what's the point in paying too much attention in what she is teaching us physically in the classroom? And I believe I got like a grade in the high 80s for my first test, which I was happy about. So yeah, that class was pretty easy. My next class was English, and you all know how much I love English, and that's not sarcasm. I actually do really love English, for those of you who don't know. And my English teacher, she was very nice too. I really liked her. I wasn't really so crazy about a lot of the kids in that class, though. Not because they're rowdy or annoying or anything. Well, maybe a little bit annoying, but I don't know. Something about the atmosphere in that class just I didn't like. I don't know. Again, everyone was nice. I don't even know what it exactly really was that I didn't really like so much about a lot of the kids in that class, but something just rubbed me the wrong way. And this is probably very weird, but that's just how I felt. There were two kids from my high school that were in that class. More specifically, they were in my senior year AP English class, which they were really cool kids. I remember sitting at their table throughout like most of the year of that class, and they were very cool. I didn't talk to them too much. I was rather silent in that class, so we just kind of said hi to each other, and that's really it. We never really actually had any full conversations when we met each other in our English class this semester. But it was cool seeing them nonetheless because out of our very limited interactions with each other, they have been nothing but nice to me. I have nothing but nice things to say about them back. So, yeah. One thing I wasn't too crazy about in that class is the huge emphasis on speaking in front of the class. Well, not exactly like physically going up and standing in front of the class and reciting a speech or anything. No, nothing like that. But sometimes the teacher likes you to share out your thoughts or answers to certain questions in front of the class. And that I wasn't so crazy about. On the very first day, we all had to introduce ourselves in front of the class and tell the class a little bit about ourselves or say what we're majoring. And I think I mentioned this in another video. I'm not entirely sure, but I guess I'll reiterate it here since it's very pertinent to what I'm talking about. I introduced myself. I was one of the first people to go because I was like the fourth person to sit in the first row that we were sitting in. By the way, on Tuesdays we sat in one of the computer rooms, and on Thursdays we sat in an actual classroom. It was cool to utilize a computer room in the English class, but I'll get more into that in a few minutes, I guess. Anyways, I was one of the first people to sit in the beginning of the row, so I was like the third or fourth person to go. And I introduced myself. I said, "Hi, my name is Michael." Yada yada yada. I don't forget it. I don't remember exactly what I said, but then I said, "I plan on majoring English." And then the teacher got all giddy about that and started recommending me some like journalist clubs and things like that because I said I possibly want to get into journalism. Oh yeah, that was one of the questions too. We had to say what careers we were interested in pursuing after college. And I said that because, quite honestly, I don't know what the fuck I want to do with my life, so I just kind of said that because I had to say something, right? And then I started thinking in my mind, which probably no one else thought, but I thought in my mind anyway because the way I am. I started thinking, did I come across as a kiss ass by saying I want to major English and want to pursue a journalist career? And then I heard some other people saying they want to major in liberal arts, and I was like, why didn't I say that? And also there were other times where I had to share my thoughts on like a story we read, and one time I was kind of fucked because I kind of forgot to read a story the night before our class, so I kind of had to like make something up on the fly, and thankfully there were some people who went before me, so I was able to kind of just add on to what they were saying and just say whatever I could gather about the story, and fortunately, it was passable, so I didn't embarrass myself in front of the class or anything. But that doesn't mean I didn't embarrass myself at all in the month and a half I was actually physically there in my classes for English. There were a couple of times where the professor called on me to like share something about some character in one of the stories we were reading, and I had to like bring up evidence on the fly about why they're this way, and then I was like, oh well, they're this way because they kind of give me that vibe, and she was like, textual evidence please, and I was like, oh fuck, I gotta turn through all these pages to find something that supports what I was saying. And the story was like fucking 30 pages long, and I didn't have like any like mental note of anything that would support what I was saying because I was just picked on the fly, and I had to say how I felt about a character, and then I had to back it up with some kind of textual evidence, and I was like, you're expecting me to remember a whole 30-page story right on the fly mentally, like, come on. But fortunately, well, I don't know if this was completely fortunate, but someone else was able to like pick up the slack and bring up some kind of something that supported what I said. So yeah, I kind of embarrassed myself. I was able to make a claim, but I wasn't able to back up said claim, and someone else had to do it for me. So yeah, that was rather embarrassing. And also, there was one time I was trying to get a textbook for one of my classes, and I couldn't pay for it because it was just a rental. I couldn't use my college card that had money added onto it thanks to the program I'm in, because apparently you can't pay through it like that if the textbook you're getting is a rental. I don't know, it's a stupid rule. But anyways, before my any of my classes started, I went to the bookstore to try to get this textbook, and it was a huge hassle. I'm not going to get into it, but basically, I was texting my mother about this when English class started, and I completely just lost track of everything because I was just focusing on this textbook. And then apparently we had to read a story, and I wasn't listening at all because I was just frantic about getting this textbook because I had to get it by a certain date for one of my classes, and that date was coming up. And then my English teacher came up to me and was like, "What's with the phone?" And she didn't say it maliciously. She was kind of smiling, but then like the whole class took notice of that, and I was like, "Oh fuck." I completely lost track of everything we were doing in this class because I was worrying about this stupid ass textbook that I have to get for one of my other classes that I'll get into in a little bit. Not about the textbook, but about the class itself. But yeah. So I wasn't too crazy about my English class, but that's fine. That's fine. It wasn't terrible or anything. Let's actually mention that class that I had to get that textbook for right now because that was actually the class I had right after English. Health. And the health professor was easily the strictest out of all of my professors. She did not tolerate phone usage at all during her class. I mean, she understood if you had like an emergency, but you kind of had to see yourself out of the classroom and handle whatever emergency you have that involves you having to use your phone to get in touch with someone outside of the classroom and not in the classroom. Otherwise, she kicks you out for the rest of the day. But yeah, I mean, she was tough, but she was nice when she was actually teaching us what she was teaching us, and that class was actually rather fascinating. I learned quite a few new things, like, for example, all of us use the word hungry incorrectly. Hunger actually means that you're lacking so much food to the point where you're actually physically weak and like think of yourself being secluded on like an island and you don't have a lot of food to eat and you're just stuck there because obviously, you're on a deserted island and really your only option is hunting for your food or eating plants and things like that. So naturally you're not going to have too much food in that scenario. So you might experience actual hunger there. So, just a little fun fact of the day, all of you are using the word hungry incorrectly, including myself. I didn't know this before I took this class. Yeah, I know it's kind of stupid, but I'm sure you feel stupid too, so whatever. You can't just pin this on me. Anyway, I did actually enjoy that class. I mean, aside from her being very strict, I mean, whatever. I've had plenty of strict teachers in the past, so I'm more than used to having a professor like this at this point. Uh, but I gotta admit, this might be pathetic of me, but the lack of phone usage kind of bothered me. I am so conditioned to pulling out my phone in class and checking notifications or just surfing the web in general or doing whatever on my phone to just kill some time whenever we have downtime in class, which we did a couple of times. There were a few instances where we had to like work on worksheets and answer questions, and a lot of the times I'll finish a few minutes early before the teacher collects collects the worksheets that we worked on. So usually in a lot of classes when I have downtime like this, when I finish work a little early, I just use my phone, look at notifications, or talk to someone, or text someone, or do anything of the sort. Just kill some time. But here I couldn't do that because the teacher was so strict about phone usage. Because obviously, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, if you use your phone at all without getting any kind of permission, like saying, "Oh, this is an emergency, I need to use my phone," or anything like that. If you're just like casually using your phone just to kill some time, she'll actually kick you out of the classroom for the rest of the day. And she's done this a couple of times. She wasn't bullshitting when she made that clear the first day we came into that class. So yeah, I had to resist a lot of urge to pull out my phone and use it whenever I had a little downtime to kill in that class. I know that's really pathetic. It really speaks volumes of me that I can't go without looking at a screen for an extended period of time. Oh well, you're all addicted to your phones or whatever electronic device that you use, so yeah, you're equally as pathetic, I'm sure. Anyway, that class aside, my struggles in that class aside, I actually did enjoy it. Again, it was fascinating. I learned quite a bit. So yeah, it overall wasn't a horrible class, but just those were some of my grievances with it. My next class was Psych Class, which, by the way, on Tuesdays I have English, health, and psych, like almost back to back consecutively. So I had a pretty long day on Tuesdays. I was there from fucking 10 o'clock or something all the way to 5 in the afternoon. Those the Tuesdays were really rough, but that's just the price you pay. That's college for you. Anyway, psych class I really liked. It was easily my longest class too, from 2:10 to what was it, 5:30 or something. Well, actually, we never stayed for that long. We always left like an hour early, like 4:30. So it actually, when I said that I was at college until 5, that was actually a lie. I never actually stayed until 5. I almost always got to leave before then. And also, my criminology class is technically that long too. It spanned from 9:10 to like 12:30 or something, but we never ever stayed for nearly that long. We always left by like 10 or something like that. So cool. Anyway, this class was really cool. The professor was really nice too. She was actually really young too, easily the youngest out of all the professors I had this semester and last semester. She was like in her mid-20s probably. So yeah, she was cool and relatable to a point because, she was young like us. And psychology was another class that was rather fascinating. We got to learn a lot about the brain and our emotions and just philosophy and things like that. And I'm a sucker for things like that. Psych was a class that I chose at my own volition because I needed another class to fill my schedule with because I needed a set amount of credits for this semester, so I chose psychology because I figured, again, that would be a fascinating class, and it certainly did not disappoint. And again, I loved the professor I had. She wasn't the most energetic or charismatic, but she was still cool. It was another class I had for only once a week, same with my health class, and again, I really don't have many complaints about this class. Maybe aside from the fact that, well, this is really just a problem of mine, not really at the fault of anyone else, because I always chose to sit here. When you sit in the back, it is so hard to see the board, the way the classroom is set up and the way the rows are set up. There's always someone blocking the board, so unless you sit in one of the front rows, which I don't really like doing, you kind of have to just stand up sometimes to see the board and copy down certain things because someone's head or someone's shoulder is blocking what you're trying to copy down, which that was annoying, but I chose to sit where I wanted to sit. It's not like you had assigned seats in that class, so really, that's no one's fault but my own. And here's the last class I want to discuss before I talk about the whole transition to distance learning. Yoga, which I don't think I ever mentioned this, but I took yoga this past semester. This is another class that I only had for once a week, and it was the only class that I had on Wednesdays. So, very relaxing day, I know. At first, I was kind of dreading yoga. I thought, oh, yoga is a girls only thing, which I know that is rather sexist. I'm sorry, but that's what I thought at the time. It was stupid, I know. Completely go back on that. But I was like, I'm probably going to embarrass myself because I might be the only guy in this class. I took yoga because I needed a physical education credit, and I was originally going to take badminton because I loved badminton so much in high school whenever I got to play it in gym class. So I tried to get in badminton, but none of the classes were available. None of them fit well with my schedule. Like every badminton class, I had to wait like a few hours for it to start. So yeah, and also the other the other badminton classes that would have fit well with my schedule, kind of overlapped with some classes that I was already slated to take. So really, badminton wasn't going to work out at all for me. So really, the only class that fit well with my schedule was this yoga class. And again, I was dreading it. I was like, oh no, I'm probably going to like hurt myself or something or make myself look like a fool in front of the class. On top of it being a supposedly girls only class, like I thought at the time. But the first day, I walked into the yoga room, which is a big gym. Well, not huge or anything, but it was a rather decently sized gym classroom. And the professor introduced herself, and I looked around the classroom. Yeah, it was mostly girls like I expected, but there were some guys too. And the first day we didn't really do anything. It was really just the professor introducing herself. We had to fill out some papers, like some contact information in case, we get injured and it may be serious and you may need to contact someone that you trust to maybe pick you up or do anything of the sort. But anyways, we had to do all that. And when we actually did start doing like actual yoga poses on like the second day onwards, I actually really ended up enjoying this class a lot. The poses were comfortable. I really liked stretching out my body. It felt really good. And especially the relaxation period at the end was fucking heaven. You got to lay down, close your eyes for a little bit. And I was usually tired too because my yoga classes were at like fucking 10 o'clock in the morning and I had to wake up early to, go to that one class I had for the day. And again, I was so happy that I was able to that yoga was my only class for the day because it was such a relaxing day. Got to forget all about your worries that went on prior to Wednesdays and maybe your worries that are after Wednesdays. Things you have to worry about before and after your yoga class. And it helped me be rid of a lot of my worries and a lot of my stress at the time, and it really was very conducive to my mental health. So yeah, when you add all that up, yoga was easily my favorite class of this semester. It has been nothing but relaxation. Again, I love the poses because it was able to allow me to stretch out my body and stretch certain parts of my body that I really have never stretched ever. And really just helped me learn some new relaxation techniques that have really helped me. I've used these techniques outside of yoga, and it has really helped calm my nerves. So now that I've talked about all the classes I've taken this semester, prior to this whole like COVID nightmare, I may as well talk about the transition to online classes because that was really the bulk of my semester. I only spent like a month and a half actually going to college, and then the rest of it, we transitioned over to distance learning because COVID-19 really started hitting the fan. I found out. I actually had the day off that day. Because my yoga instructor, she couldn't make it or something, and that's the day I found out we were transitioning to distance learning. And we had about a week off after that because, of course, all the professors had to work on transitioning their classes to online and, working out the kinks and all of the sorts. And also, CUNY had to focus on getting everyone who may not have a laptop or tablet readily available sent to them because obviously not everyone has the essentials needed to take online courses because not everyone of course takes online courses, so that had to be worked out as well. We had to have another like week-long break after that because everyone who needed laptops or tablets needed to have one sent to them in order to take their classes, and it was like 100,000 students they had to send these things to. So yeah, that was just a huge nightmare. uh, but once we finally got the ball rolling, I can honestly say I really didn't enjoy virtual classes all that much. Most of my classes, I didn't even see my professors like at all. Like, you could only communicate to them like through emails and such, and that's not really as helpful as the professor actually physically being there. You could ask them questions, or they could like physically show you how to do something, or like actually verbally explain it to you. And that's really how I learn best, like actually seeing an example of what I have to do, or having someone actually physically there explaining what I have to do and maybe helping me along the way if I do something wrong or if I'm still confused about something that I have to do. So really, online classes made that all the more difficult because obviously there's no like real effective way to like communicate with your teacher aside from just through emails, and I'm sure they get dozens and dozens of emails a day, so it's really a coin toss if they're actually going to get back to you within a short period of time. And me having to take online classes, it really just reinforced my laziness. Usually, I'm a huge procrastinator. I've always held things off until the very last minute, but this just worsened it because a lot of my classes worked like this. You get weekly modules with a bunch of with a bunch of assignments thrown at you, and you have like a week to finish them. And I would always wait until like a day or two before they're actually due to, finally do these assignments because I'm like, oh, I have a week to do this. I don't have to worry about this right away. And then, like, you're like a day or two away from the due date and you're like panicking because you have to finish everything at once, basically. And it was so difficult. Again, I know this is a problem with me. I know this is, really at the fault of no one else but myself, but still, this transition to distance learning really helped just reinforce my laziness, reinforce my procrastination, because prior to that, I usually did have some sense of, oh, I have to do this within a timely fashion because otherwise my work will be, otherwise I'll just have work on top of work piled on me. And, it was easier to kind of like discipline yourself because you're actually like physically going to classes, but now that's erased and you kind of just have all the time in the world to just lay in bed and do all of your work at the comfort of your own home. My health class was kind of weird. She just sent us notes through email and we had to like answer questions and such. We didn't have to send her questions back. It was really just for us to study for our final exam, which I took during like a week before finals week, and it was difficult. It was more difficult than I imagined, but I still got a good grade on it, thank God. It was really only my criminology and psychology classes that where I actually like had to tune into an online lecture. I had to wake up at a certain time, and it was horrible because for my criminology class, we started at the time we usually started, which was 9, 10 in the morning. So I had to wake up at 8:30, and it was difficult because I was so conditioned to going to sleep at like 4 in the morning and waking up at 1 p.m. and then starting my work after I eat breakfast. And this was difficult because, again, I had to wake up super early, and I usually always felt like shit. I had trouble rolling out of bed. Sometimes I had to really, really, really gather up, the will to actually get out of bed, make my breakfast, and then log into my online lecture. Sometimes I was like, maybe I could just skip a week. Of course, I never did that because that would be a horrible, horrible decision. But I had to really, really discipline myself to actually get out of bed and and log into my lecture at 9:10 in the morning. Psychology was a lot easier because the class started at 2:10 in the afternoon, so I was still able to sleep in a little bit. Well, I actually had to wake up kind of early on Tuesdays, like before 12, because my health class started at 12, and even though we never had to actually submit anything to my professor, we still had to email her saying we were present so she could mark us down for attendance. So yeah, distance learning. It sucked. It made a lot of things harder. A lot of things that were easy when we were actually physically going to college harder. And, overall, it wasn't the best experience. And I'm hearing rumblings of the next semester being all online based. And I'm like, ugh. I mean, I know about the second wave of COVID coming. Of course, I understand why they're doing this, and I'm not saying they shouldn't do this or why are we moving to distance learning. We shouldn't be doing this. We should actually physically going to our classes. Of course, I understand why they're doing this. I understand it's for our safety, so we won't potentially get COVID and die or spread it to someone who is immunocompromised or has any kind of condition that would help worsen COVID. Keep those people safe. I understand all of that, but I'm just saying I still hate online learning. It is really something I never thought I'd actually do in my life because I've always, up until this semester, have always taken my classes like being physically there in a classroom with your professors and a bunch of other students. But really, the reality of the situation is we're probably going to be doing this for a while because we don't know when COVID will stop being a threat. Again, with rumblings of this second wave coming, really, we could be doing this for a long ass time. And I kind of feel bad for all the students that had to graduate through Zoom or whatever. I know one of my cousins graduated college just this past semester, and his graduation was through Zoom, and that fucking sucks. Imagine taking all those years out of your life working on all of your college work, and then the big payoff is coming, and then a pandemic happens, and you have to attend your graduation virtually. That must really suck. But in reality, who knows? Maybe I have to do the same thing. I'm just really happy that I graduated high school just a year before all the shit started hitting the fan. Jesus. And I think about the seniors in my high school this year because we're in June now and they're going to be graduating this month. I graduated last year and it's going to be almost a year since my graduation. Jesus Christ, time flies. But anyways, they're going to be graduating this month too, and they have to graduate through a virtual meeting, which, my God, I can't imagine how much that must suck. Because again, imagine doing all this work, spending a significant portion of your life doing a bunch of work for your high school, and then you just have a virtual graduation, no big payoff whatsoever. Now granted, I wasn't crazy about my graduation, I just wanted to get it done and just put high school completely behind me, but still, it still must suck for those who wanted that big payoff, who wanted to attend things like prom and have a nice graduation with a nice graduation party following it, because it means a lot to a lot of people. Again, things like that didn't really mean a whole lot to me. I never attended prom. I wasn't too thrilled about my graduation. Again, I just wanted to put high school behind me. But still, for those who wanted to have these big events, it must fucking suck. And I really hope they're able to do something once COVID finally passes, or it's just not a threat anymore, or hopefully a vaccine comes along. Hopefully maybe some kind of event is thrown for them, because Jesus, they kind of sort of deserve it after all the work that they put in. But yeah, anyways, that was my second semester of college experience. I kind of went on a ramble there, sorry, but I really wanted to let that all out. I may make a video sometime soon about returning to normalcy and how that may not be feasible within the near future, so be on the lookout for that possibly. It's still just a little idea in my mind, but I may actually manifest said idea into a video. Who knows, we shall see. But anyways, I'm still rambling, so I may as well end the video off here. Jesus, 2 long videos in a row. My fucking God. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Bye-bye.